This is a very important escalatory step. It's in some ways, it's what we've been worrying about for the past several weeks and to some extent for the last couple of months, in that US casualties was always seen as a red line, US deaths. In all of these attacks that we've seen on various US interests, US bases, minor injuries, people targeted who weren't actually US citizens, this is the tipping point. So 3 US soldiers' deaths is important. It's not necessarily a tipping point into uncontrolled escalation between the United States and Iran, but it's another very dangerous step because, as I say, the US will have to respond even more strongly than it's done to previous attacks. That means possibly killing some very, very senior Iraqi militia leaders, possibly some senior Iranians. And that will present dilemmas for both Baghdad and Tehran to respond in turn. So it seems that this attack was carried out by a group calling itself the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. That's not a real group. That's a name that's been used by various militias, Iranian-backed militias that tend to be Iraqi, but also operate in Syria. And they've been using that name during the Gaza conflict as they have stepped up drone attacks and missile attacks on US interests. Previously, the US has responded by targeting senior leaders, by killing members of the groups who have been about to launch attacks. So this will have to be an escalation from that. And that's quite serious, not least because these groups are officially part of the Iraqi security services. And so this can't be done without the Iraqi state being involved. But they are certainly Iran-sponsored and Iran-supported all the way through. I emphasize that they're independent actors in that they don't necessarily depend day-to-day on Iran for funds. They get some of that from the Iraqi state. As I say, they're part of the Iraqi state, but the Iraqi state certainly doesn't control them. It's more the case that they would partly control the Iraqi state. So Iran is behind them, but doesn't make their day-to-day decisions for them. Iran does not want an open conflict with the United States, and will do everything it can, I think, to avoid that. But at the same time, it cannot afford not to establish its own deterrence. So if there are senior attacks, it will have to respond in some way. And we're just going further and further down the slippery slope. It's not necessarily clear yet that this drone attack, unlike all of the other drone attacks, was supposed to kill US citizens. Maybe the assumption was the air defenses would step in, but the attacks have been getting riskier and riskier over the past few weeks, and that's why we've been concerned.